Find you. That's the fifth time already.
Give me my laser. Y'all will just have to be in U.S. history next semester.
Can I hide them one of them?
Find out.
Hey, there's some gum on these desks.
Yeah, there is. I remember that from the Michelangelo years. Did you remember that?
You need to go scrape.
Oh, you want the answer as to what we're doing? Here's what we're doing. Ready
Yes,
for it?
please.
Ready for it?
That's
We're going on a dare, hon.
We're going on. No.
Take pictures with my camera.
Take pictures.
It sounds like he's singing it.
Open up the
Not
doors.
sure how to take that.
Open up the doors.
Not very good.
Down the road.
Walk down the road.
Come to the wheat field.
Alex, are you at my board?
Can't go under. Going on a dare, hon.
Going on a dare.
Take pictures with my camera.
Take pictures with my camera.
Open up the doors.
Open up the doors.
Walk down the road.
Wow!
Down the road.
What's
Come to a wheat field.
okay?
Wheat field.
Can't go under.
Can't
Go under it.
Can't go over.
I want to count it. Go over it. Get out of the doorway. Look at everyone's reaction as they walk in.
walk through it.
What's wrong?
Let's go there. Okay,
Sit in the organized desk. Sit in the
My dad
organized
should
desk.
Ah! I got my seat, baby. I got food too.
Sit in the organized desk. You do not deserve these desks. I do. Sit in the organized desk. Jency's like, this is where I do. Sit in the organized desk. Go. I gotta get past that on this now.
You can share.
Got over the bridge. Coming to a tree.
my food. Can I
Sit
get
in the organized desk.
Hey, old man, it got me like singing. I was singing.
Guess we'll have to climb.
Climb
To the top.
Climb to the top.
Sounds like Mickey
Love
Mouse.
it. Do it. Do it. You always send it. Sit in the organized desk. Sit in the organized territory. Go. There you go.
Let's
This is where you belong.
You stupid ass.
You just want it. That was everybody in the organized territory. What is so hard to understand? This is your boundary. This is your boundary. What's going on?
Fly over it.
You wanna be with me?
Hey, you're my chair.
I gotta sit somewhere.
You're sitting chair.
Everybody sit in the organized territory. Hey, you not understand boundaries? Sit in the organized territory. Everybody in the organized territory.
Coming to a
Oh my God.
Who's that leg? Hey, you wish this was you.
Everybody sits in the organized territory. Know your boundaries. Everybody here in the organized territory.
Open up the doors.
I might sit in my seat.
Everybody sit. This does not belong to you. This is yours. This does not belong to you. I'm not belong to you. This does not belong to you. Some of you are trying to sit where you don't belong. I wish you would know what your boundaries are. I wish you would realize where you're allowed to be, and that is in the organized territory. Come on in. To the organized territory. Now, Jacqueline seemed to make a play for the round table up here. Jacqueline, do you feel that the class should be able to sit at the round table up here?
I feel like I should.
Jacqueline feels that she should. All right. I hear that. You're a little crowded? Y'all feel a little crowded?
My legs are.
Got some frontiersmen out here trying. This is perfectly organic. Okay. You know what? I think that I would. I think I'd sell this round table to you if the price was right.
Who are you?
I like to deal. I deal in a push-up. My currency is push-ups. I think I would sell this to you. If we,
25.
I'll give you 100.
why would I go down when you said 50?
I'll give you 100.
I'll sell you this round table for 10 push-ups. You know what? Garrett, so look, plug in here. Pay attention. Garrett, are you willing to buy this round table for your class for 10 push-ups? 10 push-ups? You know what?
Wait, hold on. Can I pick people? Or does it have to be for the whole class?
I want to do it.
You know what? Come to think of it, I think that you guys are clearly cramped. You a little uncomfortable?
No, not really.
You like itching to expand? I think that I'd be willing to sell you all the desks back. 15 push-ups.
Let me do it.
No, don't do
15
it.
push-ups for all your desks.
No.
Go on,
Don't do
15
it.
push-ups for all your desks.
do 14.
Everybody who's willing to do 15 push-ups.
Damn.
When I said I'd sell you the whole table,
We don't want that.
you don't want all your desks back?
No.
I will. I will sell you all your desks back for 15 push-ups. Who will do 15 push-ups?
Oh my
Chunk change. 15? All right, chunk change.
Garrett's doing it. Garrett's doing it.
Garrett, you want step forward. Garrett's not down to 15.
Boy, 15 got the rest of my ass back. You already did 15.
I just want 15.
Okay, hey, hear me out. Stop, hear me out. We got some rugged explorers over here. How much of the room are you living in right now? About half? If I were to have sold you these desks back for cost, what would we do to the size of the room? Double it. Cost.
Well, he's come to a conclusion.
Haven Sears.
Dear God.
I'm just picking people. Haven, come on up. You willing to participate? You willing to play?
Yes.
No, you willing to play? Gary, you do push-ups. Come on.
I want to play.
Of course. Like,
Hang with me. You trust me? You trust me?
no.
Oh, yeah.
She's so innocent.
Clearly, Sam and Josh are lined up for my next two characters. Sam and Josh, come here. Furthest down west. Sam, come here. Sam and Josh, come here. All right, now don't rip this. Sam and Josh.
This seems a little bit gender motivated. This was gender
Chandler
motivated.
Hughes, you're next.
Oh, share some power.
Come on.
Touch her. Put it out.
Hey, bear with me. Here you go. But this is a must. All right, I need everyone to pack into the organized territory. I'm going to situate our costume volunteers here briefly. I need everyone to sit in the organized territory. Okay, I'm restarting the story as I explain it. Okay, when you walked in, you guys had a natural reaction. You guys sat in different places. Some of you had a home. Some of you said, "That's my seat. Move." Others of you might have felt a little displaced. You started to navigate into the frontier, if you will. So you guys had a reaction, and I'm trying to help you understand that reaction as it relates to history as well. So now I have some key players, and I'm just not going to tell you who they are just yet. I'm gonna have them run through a script here and see if you can figure it out. So,
No,
Little G,
where it is.
Little G, you can be your character number 1 here, okay? And Garrett, you stand right here by the podium. Stand right here by the podium. Chandler, you are character number 2 right here. Why don't you go stand over by the door? Okay, stand over by the door. And you guys, you are kind of your number 3 combination. You're both number 3, okay? And I want you, Sam and Josh, you have to stand starting right here, right on the edge of the organized stairs.
Kind of figured it out.
Okay?
Don't say
Look at
nothing.
Josh. And just let me.
If you are unable to have access to your internet campus, there will be a table set up during lunch for you to have your password reset or to get your username. Please stop by that table, even if you filled out the Google form to change it. Thank you.
All right, pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm not explaining on purpose. What we got here is a little skit about to demonstrate. Now, you might be putting 2 and 2 together. That'd be cool. But if you're not, just observe. Just observe. Garrett, you're character number 1. Go ahead.
I sure wish.
Louder than that. Much louder than that.
I sure wish I could have access to this major port city that would connect my country to the Mississippi River. We would be able to do so much business that way.
Okay, you have to read it like
Like
you're not reading it off the paper, okay?
Does he need to restart? Does he need to restart?
Like you need to have some enthusiasm with it.
Everybody, where we're going now. So, Garrett, character number 1. Why don't you go ahead and restart your whole line, and you should be ready for line number 10. All right, here we go.
Read it like you mean it.
Got it, Garrett.
Boy,
Oh,
I
yeah.
sure wish I could have access to this major city port. That would connect my country to the Mississippi River. We would be able to do so much business that way.
Hey man, I have a
Oh,
port city for sale.
Miss the
over
French
here.
accent.
Watch yourself.
I don't know how to do that.
Then just try.
Just
try.
try.
We tried. We
Character number 2. Go ahead.
Hey man, I have a port city for sale over here. It's called New Orleans. It just so happens to connect the Mississippi River. Are you interested?
Wow, what are the chances of that? I am in fact very interested. How much are y'all asking for it?
I asked him how much you willing to pay for it.
Uh,
No, give me a little louder than that.
well, that's pretty important. I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to spend my country's money like this, but if you do it for sale, I think we can afford to do it.
Oh, yeah, that Constitution thing, I'm not sure, but $10 million?
Sure.
Okay, well,
So how much did you say?
You know what, buddy? I actually have a whole chunk of land that I'd be willing to part with for the nice round number of $15 million. It's those 875,000 square miles
Motion.
from here to there.
Motion.
From here to there.
Oh,
Are you interested in all of that?
Wow, that's like 4 cents an acre. This will like double the size of space I have right now. I'm not sure I really have the power to make that deal, but yeah, buddy, do I have to do that? Hey, Secretary Man, that's you.
Yes, sir.
You're good at hiking and camping and stuff, right? You learned that in the Army or something?
Yes, sir.
Well, do I have a job for you? Find yourself a team, go to the edge of our country, then go past it. All of that unexplored stuff that I just bought. And I want you to do 3 things. Find out if you can get from here to the entirely by water. Draw pictures and take notes of the United States to anybody. Wait, I messed that up. On all the plants and animals and resources you find out there, and extend the full fellowship of the United States to anybody you meet out there. And let them know you are living in our country now.
On the way, sir. See you in a few years.
Wow. Why don't y'all go ahead and leave St. Louis and start exploring? And scene! Applause! 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 All right, now help me out. Little G, if you were to take a guess, who do you think you are? Oh, in fact, he's right. He's Thomas Jefferson. Chandler, your costume notwithstanding, if you were to take a guess as to who you are, who do you think you are?
Napoleon.
Oh, she's right. She happens to be Napoleon. Hey, Mr. Secretary Man, if you were to take a guess as to who you are, who do you think you are? Yeah, so number one is Lewis. Number two is Clark. And the reason he called him Mr. Secretary Man is because Lewis started out as Thomas Jefferson's personal secretary. So when he bought the, well, what are we dealing with here? What did this be?
Louisiana.
The Louisiana Purchase. That's right. That's right. You know what? Now that we know who each other is, we've run through this script once before. Let me point out this. This is New Orleans. New Orleans was for sale for the low rate. Well, sorry, we take that. Jefferson was willing to buy New Orleans for 10 push-ups. Well, actually, it was $10 million. Yeah, I simulated that with 10 push-ups. $10 million, New Orleans. But Napoleon said, you know what? Actually, that this whole chunk of ash and trash in these here western United States, New World, and you sold it for 15 push-ups, $1 million, whatever. St. Louis, fellas, why did you start in St. Louis? Felt like it?
It was close.
Well, what did I call this? I said this is the edge of your organized territory. This is the boundary of the United States at this time. St. Louis was the major city on the edge of the current United States that led to the West. So St. Louis is very often called the gateway to the West. And in fact, that whole big arch thing, you know that's a national monument? It's called the Gateway Arch. It's almost as if you're walking through the gateway to the West. That is St. Louis. So fellas, that's why you started in St. Louis. Do I have a hand here?
Yeah,
Question?
really dumb question.
I doubt it.
How did they know before this that they would be before?
It's a great question. So we were, take it back to the age of discovery, we were able to mark latitude and longitude. We have rugged map making, usually based on waterways and mountains. We didn't have, lines. We didn't have a whole lot of roads. We didn't have lines that were invisible. But we can definitely say, go to the Mississippi River. That was boundaries, right? So that's right. Go west of the Mississippi River. So here's what I want to do. One more time. A second run through the script. Now that we know who everybody is, and here's my big hope. One, we had a little fun. We had a little chuckles. I love how some of you walked in here and did not even understand. You're like, oh my God, here we are. I hope that we have a bit of a formative experience. You're going to remember the Louisiana Purchase from this. So one more time from the top. Now that we know who everybody is, hold that up. That is who you are. Let's go. We need better.
Boy, I sure wish I could have access to a major port city that would connect my country to the Mississippi River. So be able to do so much business that way.
Hey man, I have a port city for sale over here. It's called New Orleans. It just so happens to connect the Mississippi River. Are you interested?
Wow, what are the chances of that? I am interested. How much are you asking?
How much you want to pay for it?
Well, it's pretty important because I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to spend my country's money like this, but if you go and sell it, I think it's going to take how much did you say?
You know what, buddy? I actually have a whole chunk of land that I'd be willing to part with for the nice round number of $15 million. It's those 875,000 square miles from here to there. Are you interested in all of that?
Wow, that's like 4 cents an acre. This will be like double the size of the space I have right now. I'm not sure if I really have the power to make that deal, but yes, buddy. Hey, Secretary.
Yes, sir.
You're good at hiking and camping and stuff, right? You learned that in the Army or something?
Yes, sir.
Well, do I have a job for you? Find yourself a team, go to the edge of our country, and then go past it into all of the unexplored stuff that I just bought. And I want you to do 3 things. Find out if you could get from here to there entirely by water. Draw pictures and take notes on all the plants animals and researchers you find out there. And 3, extend the fellowship of the United States to anybody you meet there and let them know they're living in our country.
On the way, sir. See you in a few years.
All right, and team, big applause, big applause, big applause. Here's what we can do now. All ye Americans who are packed into this small here country, why don't you double the size of your room?
I'm not either.
Reset these desks. I made the mess. You guys get to reset the desks.
Yeah, you did it.
And I'll give you about 5 minutes to get situated. All right, 5 minutes to get situated there. Costumes, lay them up right there. Well done. Well done. I think y'all got it, huh? Everybody help with the desk. Be organized, be helpful. Best bear hunt ever. Holy, is this most emphatic? Hopefully memorable, if nothing else. I think you won't soon forget the day you walked into the classroom that was half turned over. We gotta swap it. Best you can with the desk. We are gonna upheaval it again from the next block. Hey, not bad. I thought that'd take y'all several minutes. Alright, so what you need to pull out your notes and get notes for the week that have Thomas, the blocks of presidents, and it has Thomas Jefferson on it. Vocab also talks about the Louisiana Territory, so definitely that's where I'm headed in the next few years.
He's like, I'll bring a picture in about
What did he say?
Hey, you go.
Sure. We got a couple
So I'm gonna try to tidy it up and make it all make sense. We got active, we had some fun, sat on top of the desk, it was a little atypical, unconventional to say the least. Now we're gonna talk about our third president of the United States.
Hey, Allison. This is my paper.
Well, cool, put your name on it.
My name is on the
Get where?
A-K.
I thought that was like, okay.
Says A-K. It actually says,
See, I was going with Z and A, and I don't even know why.
You knew that was
say. I see if you say the least.
What was my
I'll grade it now that all right, are we there? Our pencil is sharpened. We're ready to talk about TJ. TJ, what party you belong to?
better.
No, it was your guy. So now be like, our boy, TJ, Democratic Republicans. Okay. So as a Democratic Republican, what was his opinion on the size of the federal government?
He won't like the national bank.
He would prefer, his party would prefer a smaller central government, more power to the states. We talked about the type, who's the type of person that flocked that? What was their general profession? Farmer, agriculture, yeah, you call it agrarian society, agrarian family values. Growing up on the farm, working hard, if you're gonna eat, it's gotta come out of the ground. These are the type of people that were Democratic Republicans, not the wealthy, not the elite. So I'm just kind of setting the stage for who Thomas Jefferson is. Let's talk a little bit about the Louisiana Territory purchase here. So here's a map of the Louisiana Territory. I don't know if you've ever visualized it quite like that. What you can see on the far right-hand side, that is, Marley, I'm going tennis right here. I'm so sorry.
Great job.
Yeah, I'm gonna get tennis right now. Boom. He got
This This is where you guys were living, okay? Atlantic Ocean through the
Dang, that's
Mississippi
not a
River.
chunk.
This is how much you were living.
That is a fat chunk.
Thomas Jefferson wanted the port of New Orleans. Anybody ever been to New Orleans? I've been to New Orleans just
I
once.
wanna go.
The National World War II Museum is in New Orleans. Pretty powerful place to visit. A lot of other things in New Orleans as well, such as Mardi Gras and Cajun culture and whatever. But New Orleans is down here. That's right. That's right. That's right. Port City. What's a port city? Yeah, that's right. It's an in and an out of trade, commerce. One, the actual goods you can sell, those are important, but also it becomes a hub for culture, ideas, religion, thoughts, technology flows in and out of a port. Well, hey, crowd, right here, come on now, pay attention. United States did not have access to the port of New Orleans. New Orleans is really the key of the Mississippi River, right? You got to have the starting point of the Mississippi River to really have the full power of it. Thomas Jefferson wants New Orleans. We're going to talk about that. What he gets is, Chandler, how'd you say it? All of this over there, from here to there.
I didn't say that like
It's
that.
the whole Louisiana territory. So I'm just flicking through some pictures here. This graphically is a little bit different. Now, no, we don't own Florida yet. Florida's going to come at a later date. But blue, that's where y'all were living. Was it comfortable? Were you a little crowded? Little crowded. Who was right on the edge? And some of y'all bushwhackers even started to go into the western. Who was that? A couple of y'all said, I can't handle this crowded area. Guess what? Many people, some people had that same spirit. Most people lived in the organized United States. Like you guys chose to sit in the organized seats. A couple of y'all, despite what I was saying, right, I'm giving the rules, and nonetheless, a couple of y'all are trickling into the Western territories. Much like Americans, much like Americans who, no matter what the government says, this is your boundary, there's always that free spirit. Some people are going to trickle into the West. So it's pretty cool how that shook out. You guys did that on your own. That is Thomas Jefferson on the left. That is Napoleon on the right. So Chandler, wow. You go to the costume shop and buy Napoleon clothes? I did. So pretty cool there. This is sad Napoleon. Napoleon after he has to sell this big chunk of territory. I'll talk about that in a second.
Hey, can you go back to the last slide for the two people?
Sad Napoleon.
That is how I see it. It looks like
That's like
Stop!
Here's Lewis and Clark. Okay, I'm going to talk a whole lot about Lewis and Clark today. But here's a visual for you. Here's their pictures. Their group is called the Corps of Discovery. And I know my world historians who passed through this class, when we talked Age of Discovery, we did briefly talk Lewis and Clark. We talked their Corps of Discovery. Who are two notable figures that joined them?
Pocahontas.
Not Pocahontas.
Oh my God.
Sacagawea. Okay.
And her white husband.
Yeah, her French husband is part of the story.
And they had a baby.
Notably, which was kind of counter to the social values of today, who was able to join their expedition as kind of an equal member. As an equal member. But he would not have been equal in the Americas. One of Clark's black slaves named York. So Sacagawea, this is exactly what she looked like. I don't know. This is one of the slaves. Here's what's pretty cool about York the slave. In the organized America, he was a lesser citizen, right? He was less. He did not have the right to vote. He did not have the right to own land. He was enslaved. Once they crossed the Mississippi River into this new unorganized territory, he was considered to be an equal member of the expedition. They recorded several times where they took Democratic votes. Like, hey guys, we want to go left, or we want to go right. Where do we want to put down for the winner? So sometimes the whole group would take a vote. One person, one vote. York had an equal vote. He would not have had an equal vote in the organized America. So pretty cool. Little sense of equality that came off of the Corps of Discovery. And then just some artwork, some renderings of where they, what they did on their exploration. These are just the upfront pictures. Now I'm going to give you some explanations along the way. So here's the starting point. Now you're going to need to write down some stuff about the Louisiana Purchase, and I even got some prompting questions there for you. It's kind of up to you to decide how much you want to write. You don't necessarily need to record the whole slide. You might just listen to me talk about it. and then decide what you want to write after that. Louisiana Territory, the picture I just showed you, the map I just showed you, was owned at this time in the 1800s, 1800, 1801, 1802, was owned by France. Owned by France. Napoleon is in the midst of waging war with really the whole world. He is definitely waging wars all throughout Europe. He is at war with Great Britain. France and Great Britain, these are two powers we've talked about. But everyone has interest in this new world. Remember, across the ocean, everyone's kind of curious still. Still, they want to have a say in the new world. They want to claim this new land. Well, Napoleon's opinion on that kind of goes sour based off of the Haitian Revolution. Little island nation right here, Haiti. I think I'm pointing at the right ones. Haitian island. These slaves, a group of slaves in Haiti, kind of inspired by the American Revolution and American independence, they revolt against the French who are owning that island currently. And Napoleon at that time, he decides, man, not worth it. New world, like we're strapped for cash, we're strapped for soldiers as it is. I'm gonna get out of the new world. I'm just gonna focus on Europe. So because of that, that sets the scene for Thomas Jefferson able to purchase all of the territory. Just like in our skit, TJ, he was only interested in New Orleans. And I used the circle desk here kind of as a port because I love what Jacqueline did. She's like, oh, I can sit there and cry. I was like, no, you gotta buy it. You gotta buy it. This was our port city because it would have given you access maybe to the rest of the room in my scenario. New Orleans was that port city that would have given access to the rest of the Mississippi River. Thomas Jefferson, he didn't know Napoleon was willing to sell all the land. But he sent some delegates over to France to negotiate the purchase of New Orleans. He was actually willing to spend all the way up to $10 million. And if you adjust that for inflation, I mean, that's a pretty sizable amount of money. He's willing to spend $10 million for the port of New Orleans. Well, as they got there in France, they're having conversations with Napoleon, and that's kind of why you guys are separated across the room. Napoleon was in Europe. Good negotiation, you never say up front what you're willing to spend. Well, as the conversation unfolded, Napoleon said, you know what? I got this whole big chunk of land that I'm willing to sell. $15 million. 875,000 square miles. That amounts to, let's just math it out, that amounts to about 4 cents per acre. Total chump change, right, in the grand scheme of things. Like, whose family has bought some acres, in the past? How much is an acre these days?
$8.
About $6,000,
Yeah.
and obviously it depends on where it is, but acreages are thousands of dollars these days. 4 cents an acre, obviously that's a good deal. Well, what's complicated about that, Thomas Jefferson doesn't know if he has the right to do this. As a Democratic Republican, he believes in that, what's his view on the Constitution? Extremely strict. If it's not written in the Constitution, you can't do it. Well, was there anything written in the Constitution about acquiring a new patch of land for $15 million? No. The answer is no. So it's really funny. Like, you want to sit back on look at history and have kind of a chuckle moment. Thomas Jefferson, the strict constitutionalist, before he's president, gets into power. And as leaders very often do, I think we see this in presidents all the time, right? The candidate makes a promise, and the president realizes how tough it is to be president. President Jefferson is like, about that, the way I used to think, we're going to do it because this is what's best for the country. I'm going to make this purchase. Even though it's not in the Constitution that I have the ability to make this purchase, I'm going to make this purchase. So he expanded the powers of the presidency, despite previously saying that there should be less power in the central government, there should be less power at the federal level. So very ironic that he went back on his former beliefs. Let's see what else I got here. Let's explain the game. So Jefferson wanted the port of New Orleans for trade reasons. It was currently owned by France. He sends delegates to France to attempt to purchase it. They are authorized to spend $10 million for New Orleans. Here's Jefferson, here's Napoleon. My slides just kind of keep me on track. Napoleon recently lost interest in colonizing the New World due to the Haitian Revolution. France is involved with numerous wars in Europe and they need money. So in the end, that was the driver for Napoleon. Separated by the Atlantic Ocean, I'm not sure I got an army big enough to do this in the first place. money, 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 money. He's willing to sell his territory for money, right? He's cash strapped. He doesn't have enough soldiers to be in that territory anyway. Just give me the money. The United States just give me the money. Really, ironically, is we take a loan from Great Britain in order to pay France, but that's it. It's always about the money, right? If you want to really follow history, it's either religion or money, isn't it? And then religion's about money too. There's sad Napoleon. I like to think that this picture is him after realizing he has lost the Americas. He's lost the chance to colonize the Americas. Napoleon offers to sell all of the Louisiana territory, not just New Orleans. The price is $15 million. That amounts to 4 cents per acre. Hopefully you're hearing that. If you're hearing this a second or third time, then good. You should be logging it in your brain. So the purchase itself. Jefferson's not sure if it's constitutional. He expands the powers of the presidency by making this purchase. So much for limited government. One of those hallmarks of being a Democratic Republican. You believe in limited government, but what does he do while he's in office? Immediately expands the powers of the presidency. Now, here's how he does it. This is where I stopped myself and I started advancing slides. He uses, the Constitution does give the president treaty-making powers. You can make treaties between nations, right? Whether it's for trade, or the military, or territorial type disputes, you can make treaties. So technically, he makes a treaty with France that essentially purchases this territory. So he does work around his own misgivings about the constitutionality of this. The purchase is made. It doubles the size of the United States. That's a big factoid, right? What is the significance of the Louisiana Purchase? It doubles the size of the United States. You could get into the Port of Discovery. You could get into how they explored. They're looking for a water passage, etc. Like the factoid you really need to know that it doubled the size of the United States. Like that's that end-all be-all factoid. This treaty is ratified by the Senate. 1803 makes it official. Bada bing, bada boom. We have bought this chunk of land. We have doubled our territory. Now, you guys might think about the old song, God Bless America. It talks about sea to shining sea. This is our steps towards extending from sea to shining sea. But are we there yet?
No.
Answer is no. Not there yet. We are not touching the Pacific Ocean territory yet. But we are marching ourselves from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean to extend from sea to shining sea. Hey, Vince, do you remember walking into my class last semester in the midst of this conversation with my class, and you and I sang "God Bless America" from sea to shining sea?
Oh
Glad
my
you're
gosh, let's not.
It was terribly off key on my part, but it was memorable. All right, so that leads us to the Lewis and Clark expedition. What was it actually called? Corps of Discovery. Now, I'm going to educate you real quick. C-O-R-P-S, not corpse, not corpse. The Marine Corps, C-O-R-P-S, it's not the Marine Corps, right? When the recruiters come here, Sergeant Taft, he's not in the Marine Corps.
Oh.
He's in the Marine Corps.
No,
So it's called the Corps of Discovery, and that just means group. Okay, Corps means group. But don't be walking around saying Corps of Discovery, because people are going to say, "Who's your history teacher? Who's your history teacher?" And it's not me if you say Corps of Discovery. All right, Meriwether Lewis, William Clark. They are Army buddies. They knew each other from previous service. Lewis, we said this in our skit a little bit. Lewis is President Jefferson's personal secretary. He was still technically a lieutenant in the Army, but instead of serving on the front lines or instead of serving at some distant fort with soldiers, his Army duty is to be the president's secretary. Now, they have family background. They knew each other. It's kind of like a kinship thing or extended relative kind of a thing. That's how Meriwether Lewis finds himself right next to the president. When you're next to the president and the president needs someone who has hunting, camping, fishing, outdoor skills, he calls on you. So that's, our skit said it. Hey, man, didn't you learn some stuff in the Army about how you could be in the wilderness? Yes, sir, I did. President Jefferson commissions Meriwether Lewis to build a team. Lewis is the first one, and that's why his name tends to come first when we say Lewis and Clark. He immediately calls on his Army buddy, William Clark. Hey, bro, the president says that we need to go explore these western lands, this new purchase. You want to be my battle buddy? We have battle buddies in this class?
No.
We use that, well, okay. Well, I haven't given you a single battle buddy, but we use that phrase,
I got mine.
right? Miss Rozier is my battle buddy in World. Mr. Taylor is my battle buddy in Fourth Block. A lot of you, sometimes I'll partner you up and say you're battle buddies. That's what Lewis and Clark were. They're battle buddies. They were going to go on this adventure together. Now they have more people on their team as well. They build a team. They call it the Corps of Discovery. Again, here's this picture I've already showed you. Sacagawea, York. The fellow on the far left, he just kind of represents the type of members that were on their team. They are charged with 3 missions. 1, find a Northwest Passage, a water route from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Does this Northwest Passage exist?
No.
It does not. Like, geographically, it does not exist. There is no single way to go from Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean just by water. Rivers, they don't connect, lakes, streams. There's not a water passage. If there was, we would have found it by 2022. There is not. Why did they want a Northwest Passage in the first place?
To make it easier to travel.
Easier to travel. What would be easier about it?
Trade.
To get through.
Trade, yeah. What would they have to do? What were they having to do to trade?
Go
Hey.
around
Go around what?
the New World.
Yeah, South America. Go around South America. So if there was a water route across the entire continent, it'd save a lot of time and money. Now today, let me take the conversation one step forward. Is there a way to cut around South America today?
Panhandle.
Yes, and I heard it, the Panama Canal, which we will talk about in about 100 years.
Panhandle.
Last time. Panama Canal, we cut through about 50 miles of earth to make the canal. That's a different story for a different day. At the time, mission number 1 was to find a Northwest Passage, a water route. Mission number 2, record all the information possible, writing, sketching, samples. They collected a lot of samples of plants, animals. What resources did we just gain? Is there gold out there? Is there minerals out there?
Heck yeah, there is.
Is there salt out there? Because salt matters,
Caves.
right? Good caves, yeah. I want to know about caves. Tell me about the caves. Plants, animals, resources, and people. Did we, were we the first people on this land? Did we discover this land?
Actually, I was.
Did we take over someone else's home? Yeah. So we kind of already had this conversation with European exploration, Christopher Columbus, etc. We didn't discover anything. There were already people there. However, in the history of our country, we expanded this way for the first time. All right, so that's 1, that's 2, and here's 3. You heard Janet say it twice. Extend the full fellowship of the United States. That's a quote, and that's a Thomas Jefferson quote. The full fellowship of the United States to anybody that they met along the way. What do you think that really cheeky quote means? Full fellowship of the United States. What does that mean? Fellowship is talking. Okay, you have fellowship hour at church maybe, or you have a fellowship hall.
Yes.
But what would it mean for the United States to extend its fellowship?
So like if they find anybody in the area, they
Yeah. Like, hey, we come in peace, right? If Martians ever land on the Earth, hopefully they'll say we come in peace. A little bit of a joke there about the aliens, but there's been plenty of concern about how the Native Americans would treat Europeans. Well, Thomas Jefferson wanted them to know. Y'all can't do it, can you? Can't do it, can you? Oh, okay. Thomas Jefferson wanted them to know we come in peace. Okay, we are here to help you. We are an organized country. We are technologically advanced for the time. You are living in teepees. You are firing arrows. Hey, let me show you my musket. Genuinely, they were sharing. They wanted to share with the people we come in peace. Now, of course, those people, the Indian tribes, might be like, yo, what do you mean? We've lived here for centuries. But part of the mission was to extend the fellowship of the United States to people that met along the way. I'm going to finish explaining the game here, and then we will take our bathroom break.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Lewis, he was TJ's personal secretary. TJ commissions the Corps of Discovery. Lewis brings on his old Army buddy for the adventure. And they depart from St. Louis, which I already told you is that gateway of the West, in May of 1804. They reach the Pacific coast in November 1805. Wait a second. They reached the Pacific Ocean. Did we own that land?
No.
Yeah, we did not own this chunk of what is now Oregon. They actually explored beyond the purchase boundary. But what that does is sets the stage for claiming Oregon and settling the future of Oregon, right? And that's just part of manifest destiny. Like, we will claim this land. Gonna step myself with manifest destiny. They returned to St. Louis in September of 1806. So their whole adventure was about two years long, 2 years and 2 months. May of 04 to September of 06. Along the way, guys, how many text messages did they get to send out?
None.
Yeah.
They never like.
How did they communicate back to Washington, D.C.?
It took a while.
They did.
They had to return. So for a long time, people didn't know if they made it. For a long time, as it went into 1 year, 18 months, approaching 2 years, the newspapers back on the East Coast, they were like, hey, I wonder if that old Corps of Discovery is still out there. I wonder what they found. Corps. So they were very groundbreaking. They cut trail. They went places no one else has ever gone, at least from a European perspective. So very, very groundbreaking. Lewis and Clark, again, Sacagawea and York. And that is Thomas Jefferson's purchase of the Louisiana territory. Applaud for yourselves. I hope you won't forget it. What's that?
Are you calling Thomas Jefferson?
How much you for?
Y'all go ahead to the bathroom. You should take that break. Your legs hurt.
Give me your phone.
Oh, you have the marking.
Hey, your booty's really sweaty. Hey, wet. I did too though, so.
Yeah, you tell them to shut up.
They ain't been talking?
Like, I know you're. I didn't say you were. You weren't talking about you. Them back there.
I'm gonna stop talking.
Just get the
That for giving me something. That dear love.
Oh,
No, it's dead. You tell me.
Uh-uh.
I'm not dead.
Yeah, you caught up.
Dead.
It's cold in here, which is awesome.
It's hot.
wait.
That darn soup thing is hot.
I feel like it's just like-
Hey, Kill, your girlfriend right on.
Huh?
Girlfriend right on.
What's her name?
Had to switch there.
Ah!
That's funny.
It is.
Stay alive.
Yes.
That's my girlfriend?
It better not be.
Yeah, Allie G.
That's it, that be you.
That's the 80s.
Stop bothering me.
What the flip, man?
You know about that?
Yes.
She told you?
No,
He told
you told me.
Oh, I didn't tell you that.
Yes, you did.
That hurt.
Clearly. What? No. Wow.
The only reason we do is because I got and it got because the propane tank.
I forgot about the camera. I hate that thing.
Me too.
I thought we all got
Let's
out
go.
the whole trip.
Beat it up.
Can do it. Watch this.
End it.
Oh! Don't make me end it. I will end it.
Got the games on your phone.
Just let go and stick. Hey, be careful. Gary, you get the new phone.
No.
No, what's wrong with going to the gas? I don't know that.
Okay. What? You're not chill. I ain't upset.
You know what I'm saying? She is.
I'll find out later.
She is.
Me and her have
I'm ready to scrimmage today.
Really? Look, guys.
What kind?
You got it?
Your documents. I love that.
Hey, you're talking.
I don't know if
You got it. You got it. There you go. You can do it.
Hey,
Yeah, stop. I didn't want to break it.
Alright, you got very little left to go. Just let me get through it, and what we'll do is have time for you to kind of wrap up any missing vocab, any issues you have on past notes, that kind of thing.
We are keeping it.
we're not. We are not keeping it PG. Keep it PG, please.
What is it?
Just-
My car lights.
Can it be like over a year?
I didn't want to. I seen y'all right there. I thought. Dang. Nothing. You want this? Yeah.
I'm gonna put it right here.
Do you review it?
Put it right here.
Okay.
It's for absent people.
And also, in the future,
Whenever I look like a dumb whenever.
Shame check. I should have rolled my window.
Do you look at me?
It says. I think I say.
Okay, well, I like to not kick it, but like pulling up.
I said, fuck. And he said, back to. Yeah, he was funny. I was like, I turned around. I was it's an awkward time.
All right.
Shaming everyone.
Don't break my dowel rod. It's my last one.
Shame. I'm shaming everyone.
For shame. For shame. And the witches.
They are shaming me for no reason for looking at me.
Okay, so we started off with that dynamic simulation, which hey, the chit chatters. We started off with all things related to the Louisiana Territory. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about all that is Thomas Jefferson. And here's what I want to give to you. Okay, I think we've had a good 2 days. What's this one?
Some people. Wait.
She might have fell in.
Switch, like the-
She fell in, then there's.
I was about to
Like,
Oh.
I'm not gonna pull her out.
You should have heard
I
them
am
say
not
bye.
receiving. Where you been at?
I think she just.
There was a process.
All right, from the top.
I'll
From
take
the
that.
top. Here's something I hope you'll notice. I think we've had a good 2 days, right? We planned a party yesterday. We really messed with your heads when the whole room was upheaval today.
Yes, yes.
Don't miss the fact that was a change of pace. We still have to land the lecture too. So I'm just gonna blast through the rest of Thomas Jefferson and give you the chance to, we should end up with some minutes where you have the chance to kind of round out your notes. So here we go, the presidency of TJ, Thomas Jefferson. Take it back to the end of JA, John Adams. He was ousted in the election of 1800. That election is often called, AKA, the Second American Revolution, because it was a changing of political parties. Notably, it was a peaceful transfer of power. First time probably ever. Like really, you want to take it back through all of dynastic histories and monarchies. There has never been a peaceful transfer of power. Willingly, a group that was defeated gives up power to another group. That is why this American experiment was so radical. It's the first time ever that willingly a defeated group has given up power. The Federalists are defeated. They're reeling. They're kind of like backpedaling from a series of unpopular decisions. The Alien and Sedition actions were chief among them. A variety of other taxes and tariffs as well. So Federalists are on the way down. Democratic Republicans, which organized themselves to take on the Federalists, they're on the way up. Leader of the DRs, Democratic Republicans, is Thomas Jefferson. He takes power. It is a first transition of power in, like I said, probably all of world history. Thomas Jefferson is inaugurated in Washington, D.C. He is the first person to be inaugurated in Washington, D.C. George Washington, this is extra. George Washington was president in New York City. That was the location of the capital for George Washington. The White House is being built in Washington, D.C. John Adams is the first to be inaugurated in Washington, D.C. So really established Washington, D.C. as that national capital. First president inaugurated in D.C. In a time of division, and just like you might think that Trump and Biden was kind of a spicy transition of power, we've had spicy transitions of power, but they've still been peaceful. So at a time where the country is somewhat ideologically divided, some people follow the ideas of the Federalists, some people follow the ideas of Democrat Republicans, the rich people versus the farming people. Jefferson gives this statement in his inaugural speech. He says, we are all Republicans, we are all Federalists. It's as if to say we're all in this together. Pretty important attitude for him to start leading, right? We're all in this together. Doesn't matter what party you're in. To step away from George Washington's statement of don't have parties. There are parties, but hey, at least we can all be in this together. He tries to be a uniter with his quote, we are all Republicans, we are all Federalists. So just kind of the characteristics of him, he wants to be a uniter. Early accomplishments is that he lets the Alien and Sedition Acts expire. As they be up for renewal, obviously that was an unpopular part of the government in the first place, and he lets them expire. He actually frees many people who were imprisoned by them. If you were an immigrant who got locked up because you were a political opponent to John Adams, he let you out of jail. If you're a newspaperman or someone who was locked up because you exercised your free speech, he let those people out of jail. So he, anytime you get let out of jail, you're probably going to appreciate the man that did that for you. Obviously, he starts to win a lot of friends by letting them out of jail. He reduces taxation. Philosophically, he is opposed to taxing. That's what the Democratic Republicans believed in, less taxes. But of course, he's going to find that money does make the world go round. You can't buy Louisiana without money. So, as much as someone would want to reduce taxes, nonetheless, you still need money to run the government. So a real fine line between
unjust taxes, excessive taxes, taxation without representation, and the government needs money to build roads, build schools, and function. So got to find ourselves somewhere in the middle. Some taxation is understandable. Too much taxation is, that's what we fight wars over.
Can you go back one slide?
Sure. Kind of already highlighted the idea of limited government, right? He thought that there should be less power at the federal level. And then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, he expands that power by buying something called Louisiana. And I'm going to move on. I'll get it at the end here. Really, this is totally extra. I'll straight up tell you, this is not a Georgia standard. But I'm going to explore this briefly because it adds to the personality of Thomas Jefferson. And it's about pirates. You want to talk about pirates for a second? Let's talk about pirates. So something that's going on in North Africa is that Barbary Coast pirates, fancy word for North Africa, the Barbary Coast is in North Africa. These pirates are attacking U.S. merchant vessels, restricting our ability to trade, killing or imprisoning American sailors. Now, this is not military sailors, it's merchant sailors, but all the same, attacking Americans. Well, we're a new country. People flexing on us, what you got to do? Get your respect. Flex back, right? These pirates are attacking us. We got to flex back. We got to show that we are an organized, we're a new country, but we're going to stand up for ourselves. We are organized enough to stand up for ourselves. So Jefferson sends a pretty famous ship. I'm going to show you a picture of it in a second, called the USS Constitution. USS, here's a little extra for you. USS, that's the starting name of all ships in the Navy, and that stands for United States Ship. Really earth-shattering, right? USS, United States Ship. USS Constitution, very, very keenly named after our new Constitution. And they take on the pirates. They blockade various trade routes so that the pirates can't be interdicting our merchant ships. Try not to hang out on this too long, but it is about pirates and it's pretty cool. Eventually, the pirates, which, they're not associated with any particular country. It's kind of an unorganized band of pirates. I don't know. I keep thinking of Johnny Depp every time I read about the Barbary Wars. They sign a treaty which stops the attacks. It stops the ransom, the bribes, all that kind of stuff. What's significant about this is that we stood up for ourselves. Thomas Jefferson says this can't last. We are a country. We will be respected as such. So it's a standing up for ourselves. That's what's notable about the Barbary Wars. This is the USS Constitution. This is a 240-year-old ship that is still in the United States Navy. It is still commissioned in the United States Navy. It's in port in Boston. You can go visit it today. It is commanded by active duty Navy sailors. It is the oldest floating ship in the world. USS Constitution is the oldest floating ship in the world. You can visit it like a museum, but at the same time, it is an active Navy ship. And it sails on significant events, 4th of July and such like that. It sails, it fires its old cannons. Now, it's a relic. It is not something that's going to go into war now, but it is still an active, floating, wooden naval vessel. This is the USS Constitution. That was sent by Thomas Jefferson to the Barbary Coast in the early 1800s.
Thomas Jefferson was on that boat?
No, the president sends the military. Right? Remember, GW is the only one who's ever actually led troops in battle. So, nope, Thomas Jefferson wasn't on that boat. But, he may have visited the boat, if that's your question. He may have visited the boat, but he didn't sail on it in the
How old is it?
240 years. 240 years. It is the only naval vessel still active in the Navy that has sunk an enemy ship. Now, of course, World War II era ships and all that, they've been decommissioned, and there's plenty of sinking of ships. But anyway, I'm probably nerding out on the Navy here. USS Constitution, oldest floating ship in the world, only Navy ship still active that has actually sunk an enemy vessel. So no other Navy ship in the whole United States Navy has actually been to war in a combat situation. To which I say beat Navy. Beat Navy. Send the Army instead. All right, one more extra. This is on the edge of Georgia standards, but at the same time, honors crowd, I think it's important for you to know. And it also continues to show Thomas Jefferson's personality. So this is the Supreme Court case called Marbury versus Madison. Like I said, it being on the edge of Georgia standards, just listen. Just hang out and listen, okay? You might want to just Marbury versus Madison. You don't need to take all these notes. Marbury versus Madison. It's a Supreme Court case. You guys are going to launch into a government class next year where you're going to learn a lot of Supreme Court cases by their names, right? So anytime it is v or versus, that is referring to a Supreme Court case. This is Marbury v. Madison. Madison is James Madison, future president, but at this time, he's not the president, he's the attorney general. Well, what happens here is that on John Adams' very last day in office, he appoints a whole round of judges that are Federalists. So he's flooding the judicial system with Federalist judges. And the idea is it's a little snarky towards Thomas Jefferson, right? It's going to try to make governing a little bit more difficult because if all your judges are Federalists, but you're a Democratic Republican, you know, how much collaboration is going to go on? So a little bit snarky by John Adams. And we've already got to the point where those guys made up and they died on the same day, they died as friends, whatever. But at the time, it was a little frustrating, Thomas Jefferson. Well, one of these guys, his name is William Marbury. He's the top picture there. He was appointed at these are called midnight appointments, because like the last minute for John Adams, a midnight appointment. See, William Marbury, he's one of these midnight appointments. But this is like really technicalities here. To actually be the judge, you have to get a letter delivered to you. You have to get your appointment delivered to you in the mail. Well, Thomas Jefferson says these guys can't be judges if we don't deliver the letters. Don't deliver the letters. He told his attorney general, James Madison, don't deliver the letters. William Marbury is the first one that says, oh crap, give me my letter. I want to be a judge. I was appointed as a judge. Give me my appointment. He sues. He sues Thomas Jefferson. It technically sues James Madison. Chips all the way up to the Supreme Court. Here's where the real significance comes in. The significance is not the judge part of it. The significance is the Supreme Court overturns the idea that you have to deliver the letters. It was a law. It was a law in writing. You have to deliver these letters to these judges. The Supreme Court says, you know what? That shouldn't have been a law in the first place. They struck the law from the books. That gave the Supreme Court, that set the precedent of judicial review. The court can review any case in the land. Just because Congress passes the law doesn't mean it's going to hold up in the Supreme Court. So we almost have a court, it's called checks and balances, but the court finds itself in a position where it can strike down legislation. Congress might pass a law, but the court, eventually, it's going to take a long time to get up to the Supreme Court, but the court might strike down that law. This is called judicial review. We have very significant examples of this in our history, such as, I'll just pick a real kind of a big one that I think you guys will understand, whether it's legal or not to have an abortion. That law is on the books in a lot of states. In the 70s, it chipped itself up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that that is an active law. That is an okay law. Now, whatever you think about that, it's your personal opinion. You can talk about that, from a political perspective. The Supreme Court says that is an acceptable law. A lot of states, a lot of people, faith groups, Christian groups, were hoping that the Supreme Court would overturn that law and take it off the books. That's not what happened, but this idea of judicial review opens the door to that. The Supreme Court can possibly overturn any law on the books. In a way, makes the court more powerful than Congress. It all starts with this, Marbury versus Madison, judicial review. We get real cheeky with it. I always think MMJR, Marbury Madison, judicial review. Now, like I said, that made sense to you? That helps you understand your American government a little bit better? Good. Not a factoid that's going to show up on the EOC, but this class ain't about just teaching to the EOC. I'm trying to give you some good life as well. We will have some other fundamental Supreme Court cases we do have to memorize, and I'll try to give you some cheeky ways to remember those as well, using the letters, using a mnemonic. So anyway, all that to say, Marbury Madison judicial review gives the Supreme Court the power to overturn laws, basically makes them a little bit more powerful than Congress. This is true still to this day. So leads us to Jefferson's overall legacy. And well, let me just ask you, we've talked about this man who believes in a limited government, but bought the Louisiana Territory. We know that Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. What's this like a really famous statement that comes out of the Declaration? All men are created equal. Oh, that's Thomas Jefferson's writing, but he was a lifelong slave owner. So knowing these things, we've talked about him for quite a while now, from early revolutionary to him being president. What is your opinion on Thomas Jefferson? We got.
Once the slaves stopped working for him, or like, were they like free slaves, but like slaves?
Landon wants to know specifics. Were the slaves working for him willingly? Or, no, they're slaves. They didn't have their freedom. He was a slave owner.
No, like,
All men are created equal.
what happens if
He's
no,
too
but
crazy.
yeah, but they can be slaves, but they can also like.
If he let him go, somebody
He's
else
a
would
horrible
slave.
person.
Oh.
That's the difference between a slave.
I'm trying to grab all the hearing. Two-faced, contradiction. That was your word. Hypocrite, horrible person.
But I mean,
Two-faced,
he helped
hypocrite,
us out,
horrible
so.
person. The legacy of Thomas Jefferson is somewhat a contradiction. Okay, Thomas Jefferson's lifelong legacy is somewhat contradictory. He supports individual rights. He demands the Bill of Rights be added to the Constitution. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, natural rights endowed by God. But he's a lifelong slave owner. He actually didn't even free his slaves upon his death. A lot of these early founding fathers, they had the attitude of, slavery is a complex institution. We do need it to grow cotton and tobacco. But upon their death, they freed their slaves. I'm not saying that that's good or bad, right? The fact that they held on to their slaves. Thomas Jefferson didn't even free his slaves upon his death. So, I mean, he really, bad man, two-faced, and what do you say, hypocrite, right? Here's a statement from Thomas Jefferson. I like to give you primary sources sometimes. This comes from his personal journal. He said that slavery was like holding a wolf by its ears. Imagine that. Holding a wolf. We had a Siberian Husky when I was growing up, so kind of close to a wolf. If you're holding a wolf by its ears, what would happen if you let go?
It'll probably turn around.
It would turn on you. Yeah, probably. You're holding it back, and that's probably difficult enough as it is. Selah is terrified of wolves. You want to know why?
It's a wolf.
Selah is terrified because it's a wolf.
Wait.
My kid is terrified of wolves because of Beauty and the Beast.
Yes,
That scene in Beauty and the Beast where the wolves are attacking Belle. Yeah. Anyway. Here's the analogy here. Here's the illustration. He knew that it was dangerous. He knew that slavery was dangerous, but he couldn't figure out a way to let it go. You're holding the wolf by its ears. This is dangerous, but if I let it go, it's worse. So he believed it would tear the nation apart, right? If he were to let go of slavery, if he were the one to try to abolish slavery, and of course we go like 13 more presidents before that happens, he felt it would tear the nation apart. He was unable to envision a more diverse America like we know today. Today we can fathom America without slavery. Hallelujah, thank God, there's no slavery in America. Thomas Jefferson, he didn't understand. He couldn't even begin to think about an America without slavery, right? He had such a narrow focus, as did many of these early founding fathers. So that's a little extra. Him thinking of, his thought on his thoughts on slavery. Now he handpicked his successor, James Madison, and Thomas Jefferson kicks off the first of 3 straight Virginian presidents. Sometimes it's called the Virginia Dynasty. Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. There were 24 years, 1801 to 1825, of presidents being from Virginia. So that's kind of a power pack for Virginia into the White House. And then that ultimate legacy, we have kind of already talked about it. He made he's a revolutionary with Adams. He's an enemy to Adams. He makes peace and friends with Adams again, and then they both die on the same day. They had that competition with each other about who would live longest, and in fact, Jefferson dies 5 hours before Adams, but neither of them know it because they die in separate cities and the word doesn't get passed to either man. So that is Jefferson's big final legacy. Let's do, I'm going to call this just kind of a check on learning here. What was Thomas Jefferson's party? Just talk to me. Thomas Jefferson's party. Democratic Republicans. I always find that confusing because today it's Democrats versus Republicans, but early on he was a Democratic Republican, and it's really not easy to say, what would he have been today? Would he be a Democrat or Republican? The values were different. The issues were different, so you can't say exactly what any of these guys would be today. Democratic Republican. What party did farmers and Southerners generally support? Good repeat, the Democratic Republicans. And why did Jefferson form an opposition party? This is a good one.
He didn't believe what the Federalists believed.
Okay, he opposed the Federalist beliefs. There was a particular tipping point. Any recollection on that? What was really unpopular about John Adams?
The taxes. Oh, he did
And
so bad.
Actions that were what actions did people hate with John Adams?
The aliens and sedition.
Thank you. Yeah, Alien and Sedition Act. So that was kind of the tipping point for Fooey on the Federalists. We got to have our own party. Bit of a tipping point. I got 3 more here, I think. Okay, the second one there. How many miles do you think their expedition was?
I don't know.
500.
Man, it actually doesn't give me an answer. I don't know either.
1,836.
Let's just go to number 3. I'm sorry, I don't have answers for this one. Number 3. Why do you think their trip was not a straight shot to the west?
They didn't know where they were going. Because they followed the river.
So I started here. They didn't know it was there. I'll buy that. Sanaa, say it again.
They didn't follow the river.
They followed. No, actually, they did follow. They followed waterways. Part of their commission from Jefferson was to, find out natural resources. Water is a very important natural resource. So they followed the rivers. You can actually see there is a bit of a branch up here. Half of the group took the high route, half of the group took more southern route, and then they joined back up in the Oregon country. And it's a pretty good map. This whole orange part right here was not a part of the purchase, but we explored it anyway. And eventually, we're a couple days away from talking about how we gained the Oregon territory. Of course, today it is a state. Oregon and Washington are 2 states in our union. So that's why the trip wasn't a straight shot to the west. They were trying to explore the whole thing, and they followed rivers and water. So, pretty good class. I'm satisfied with what we accomplished today. If you have gaps of any sort on your notes, it would be other than the War of 1812 and James Madison.
And Washington.
No, we definitely thought Washington cabinet.
I didn't have anything on there. I took notes on him.
Why is the cabinet important? Who are the 4 people in the cabinet? What did they provide to him? What does an advisor do? I just said the word. What does an advisor do? The concept of the cabinet is the advisor that's helping George Washington govern. We have definitely gone over the cabinet.
Who were they?
You tell me.
I don't remember.
Good